Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the seminar, the webinar here. That music that you hear in the background is Santos Bonacci. You can catch up a CD from his website. We appreciate him letting us use the music. Thank you for coming here to our webinar. Hello, welcome. My name is Bill Schreib, and we're going to do a webinar on modes and elements. And first of all, we have a few announcements. We want you to support the School of the Holy Science. They make this possible. And we're going to make a special offer. If you haven't already bought my book, Dance of the Zodiac, it's 80 pages with photos of various sun signs, rising signs, and moon signs, whole bunch of stuff. It's $14.95, a little bit of shipping, and half of the profits will go to the School of the Holy Science. As you may know, we were born in a given moment, in a place, in like vintage wine. We have the qualities of the year and the season in which we are born. Astrology does not claim to anything more. That is a quote from Carl Jung, master of personality archetypes and Leo extraordinaire. Anyway, that claim says a lot, and it tells us of our connection to Earth's seasonal forces, the rhythms of nature, and the divine intelligent process that makes life possible. Now, these forces were here at our moment of birth, and they're ingrained into what we feel about our environment around us, and this changes the way we think and the thoughts and emotions, and these change our mannerisms and our appearance. That is the general theory on how I see astrology affects your physical characteristics. The rhythms and patterns are illustrated in astrology's modes and elements, and they tell us how it affects personality. We will show how that happens in the next hour or so. And first of all, we're going to run a film, intro to a film we're working on called A Year in the Life. And this is the first 9 minutes. I must tell you, the sound quality, we had trouble with the mixer here. So it's a little loud. You may have to take it down. We'll improve it for the next one and figure out the bugs on this the next time. Anyway, here is the intro, 9 minutes. It'll tell you all about the elements, the modes, and the light cycles, and everything from the year in the life. Well, we think we have it. Okay, here it comes. Well, I'm not sure if anybody's getting the video or the sound. We have video going out, but nothing on our monitor. Let us know on that. Getting anything out there? Not yet. Okay, thank you, Julie. Ah, yes, they are. We got it. Okay. Yes, they're getting it. Said it just stopped. We have Mercury retrograde. There are technical problems. Please stand by. You know, I love Mercury retrograde. I think it's still retrograde, or if it isn't, it's pretty close to turning around. Anyway, we tried the video. We'll get the bugs out of it. We'll figure out why it didn't work. I'm sorry. I hope you got to see some images anyway. If you didn't get sound, and you got to see some of the stuff we're trying to explain here. Anyway, we're going to talk first of all about the elements. And the elements, as you can see, are the rhythms, the frequencies, the things that create vibration. And the vibration changes with each of the elements. Of course, the elements in astrology are fire, earth, air, and water. And they appear in the chart in that order. If you think of the higher vibration, now when you're watching someone and you want to guess their sign, well, try this. Look at the energy, and if it's a high vibration, you're going to know it's air or water. Take a look at those drawings of light and air, very high vibration. If it's high vibration, it's possibly that. And if they're more feminine energy, not as expansive, then you can consider that they may be an earth sign, the most solid, the least vibrational, because it's physical plane, and the water sign, which is liquid. So these are the elements, and they are what make up the elements. Next of all, we will look at the modes, so we get an idea how the modes work in this very briefly. For instance, if you think of the modes, ancient astrologers observed the elements were being regularly altered by a cyclic pattern of 3 defined actions. They called them the modes. They work something like this. It's very simple. Take a look at this drawing, and you'll notice it's a circular event. It signifies the beginning of a circle, a cycle, or a quarter of a wavelength. Coming up to from a baseline up to the, let's say, top would be a quarter. In the waveform, these 3 actions happen. The cardinal point is like light. It's running in a direction. At some point, if you follow that circle counterclockwise, the next one in line you will see from the cardinal, you'll see the fixed point. This point defines the arc of the curve, the radius of the circle, the arc of that part of the wave. And of course, this definition of space and a point in space is the act of fixity. So therefore, anyone born in a fixed month would be fixed tendencies. And of course, the cycle is completed and made absolutely whole, and by the give and take adjustable movement that is the mutable sign. This is the final arrangement that takes the parts and completes the wave, or the part of the wave, or the part of the cycle. So this is how I see that the modes work. They are actions. Cardinal, fixed, and mutable modes are the primal operating process that makes all creation possible. And rather interesting, the quantum physicists have found this at all levels. They found it in the neutrinos, which used to be the smallest particle recognized, and they found that it shifted into 3 states of being. They call them flavors at that level, but I think what is happening, that little beam of light coming from that neutrino from the sun is actually bent a little bit, and that's what makes 3 different states of it. So it may not be liquid, solid in light, but it is a state of a arc, a waveform. I hope that made sense. Okay, let's take a look at how the modes in the cycle, the solar cycle. For eons, the sun is generated its cyclic light show, changing the elements on these Earth, making things go from liquid to solid when it freezes, melting again to liquid, evaporating into air. This process on this Earth, very few degrees of separation between fire and solid. It's pretty amazing. These three designing steps, as you see in this illustration, once again going in a counterclockwise, this cardinal points are the beginning of the season. It's a new direction. And you will note that we go from cardinal, fixed, mutable. These thousands of waves are changed by these repetitive actions of these modes. And also, if you look here, you will notice a switch in polarity, a switch to a different mode of action, a transformation into another element. In the turning of the year, these four elements are altered by the three modes, and that is how we get define the energies represented in the 12 zodiac signs. Okay, now we'll go on to the modal steps and how they repeat through the seasons. We got cardinal, fixed, mutable, as I mentioned. They repeat themselves in elements: fire, earth, air, and water. Fire, earth, air, and water. If you follow that all the way through the chart with the colors, all the fire ones are pink, the earths are green, and the water is kind of a purple, and the air is, excuse me, yes, I don't have it in this one, wrong chart, sorry. Anyway, the combining these elemental rhythms with the patterning forces of the three modes defines the nature of each season, the quality and personalities of the signs. And as I define the signs, I'm going to do something here that I need to explain, and how this project started was I'm going to do inflections in my voice and try to be what these signs are. Let me explain this. When I first started to draw these astral caricatures, I had a couple friends, and I took some photographs. They were all Tauruses. So what I did was, and I noticed some similarities in the photographs of these people. So what I did, first of all, I went home. I said, I want to draw Taurus. And I got thinking, what is Taurus? Taurus is fixed earth. I mean, this is solid. And what is Taurus? Taurus is the senses. And the most obvious thing we have for Taurus is to smell the roses. Think about it. If you smell the roses, and try it sometime, maybe in a mirror, and just imagine yourself smelling the roses. Your brows will come down, the outside of your eyes will drop down, giving you those bovine eyes, and the nostrils will spread, and it'll be very impressive. So when you do that, you're going to get the resemblance of our Taurus character. I believe that's in focus. Anyway, you'll see more pictures later. Okay, we're going to start by looking at the positive houses, and the circle on the lower left shows where the positive houses are, and the negative points in an astrology chart, and the positive points. In this configuration, you see the positive signs in the odd-numbered houses. The feminine signs are in the even-numbered, and all the ones you see here, 1, 3, 5, 7, and so forth, are the positive houses, and these are the air and fire signs. So this is kind of how it fits your chart. The house numbers will change with the time of day, but that's another workshop, which we may do later. The even number houses contain the feminine signs. Let's take a look at the energy of the feminine signs. Excuse me, the fire group. Let's look at, fire group. We'll look at the feminine signs in a moment. The fire group is fire. Energy is its purest state. This is where we find the highest vibrational frequencies, as we mentioned earlier. Mannerisms of great intensity and combustibility and an abundance of heat. Fire also suggests the intangible essence of desire, will, the spiritual plane. The sparks of spirits burst into flame in the presence of the three fire signs: Aries, the one you see on the left, Leo in the center, and Sagittarius. We'll talk about the modes in a minute. Let's go to the air signs next. In air, the vibrations are still expansive and positively charged with less intense energy. The energy is dispersed into greater areas of occupation, shall we say mental occupation. These dynamics suggest qualities of floating clouds, swirling breezes, and funnels of wind. The currents stir the restless minds of astrology's mental sides: Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. The airy qualities resonate well with those of fire. And if we go back, look at the positive houses once again in the next slide, we'll note how each elemental group creates its own triangular relationship. When the positive charge element is combined with the positive, another positive charge of, let's say, fire with air, they complement each other. They reinforce the arc of the wave, and they form energies that work well together. This forms the Star of David, which is the symbol you see of these two triangles in the chart, and that means that is the creative actions that work together and make energy creation possible. Anyway, the vibrational fire needs air to burn, and the heat of fire allows air to expand its range of occupation. So that's how they complement each other. Now, in the negative houses, as we mentioned before, when the wave is descending and shifting to the minus side, we get feminine energies, reserved, internalized, inward. Here the vibrational quality is reserved. It's the down wave. It's internalized, desirous of consolidations. It's what we see in earth and water, of course. Now, next up are the earth signs. These are shows us the feminine signs. Earth represents the physical plane, matter itself. You'll notice when earth people talk, they have a very solid earthy quality about them. The earthy substance rouses the senses of the earth signs and inspires them to build new configurations, create more efficient and practical products. These are the three earth signs: Taurus, fixed, Virgo is mutable, and Capricorn is the cardinal sign at the winter solstice. Next up, we have the water signs. When you're watching someone's energy and it's a little more liquid, it's not as solid as earth. Watch the energy. If it floats around a little bit, it's probably water. The resonating rhythms of water suggest the movement of tides, the settling of water into contained pools, and the osmosis of the universal solvent. This element will appear to permeate, coat, and then meld with everything that it touches. These magical feelings can be seen in the signs on the left: Cancer, Scorpio, fixed, and Pisces is the mutable water. Okay, if we look back once again, another thought here on the water signs. Water gives containment and form. Water loosens earth and brings it to life. Water is the universal solvent that melds all the elements into one. Now we're going to learn how to detect the elements and personalities, and we have some actual personalities to look at here. When you go out there and you want to configure someone's sun sign, let's say. Okay, as we mentioned, deep, resonant voices are earth. Now, they'll talk a very solid, earthy resonance to their voice. Tauruses are the slowest talkers. Virgos are the mental earth signs, so they tend to weave a little bit, and they love to work with details and physical arrangements. Capricorns seem to build structure from the bottom up, a mountain of institutions and forms that will, with a slow cadence, take us higher up the mountain on the physical plane. Over on the left, you see Cher and George Clooney, two Tauruses. And think of their voices. Their Cher's rich voice. George Clooney, pretty solid, earthy. Look at those bovine eyes. Other Tauruses I could think of, Orson Welles, with how deep his voice was. Jimmy Stewart didn't talk too fast. He had trouble finding words, or at least that was part of his Aquarius ascendant. And Kate Hepburn, much like uh, Lauren Bacall, a rich, earthy voice, and she's a Taurus. Now, the Virgos you see here, of course, Lauren Bacall, Sean Connery. Think of their precision, their precise holding the ground as they arrange the world around them. So watch for that earthy energy, and it will be obvious. We'll combine it with more specifically in a minute here with the modes so you can see how it works. The Capricorns here, we have Joan Baez, another earthy voice, and the most earthy of the bunch is James Earl Jones, the voice of Darth Vader. Now, he happens to be a triple Capricorn, sun sign, rising sign, and moon. So he's really earthy. Other Capricorns I can think of, Judd Law, Kevin Costner, Ava Gardner, and just think of the earthy quality and the drive that they have to move forward in their careers. Okay, let's look at some water signs. With water signs, mannerisms are very rhythmic. They flow smoothly in subtle waves. Cancers tend to swell and then recede like the tide. Think of Cancer swelling up at you, pulling back, swelling, pulling back. That's the Cancer rhythm. And Cancers, here we have Lena Horne and Will Ferrell. They're very swelling and receding energies, very emotions. Scorpios seem to be submerged in heavy water. We have Whoopi Goldberg, Leo DiCaprio, and they have a very intense fixed quality to them. This is fixed water. Look at the laser eyes, mysterious energy. Other Scorpios are Hillary Clinton, Condi Rice. So these signs like power. Dennis Miller, Charlie Manson definitely had the intensity. I forgot to mention Robin Williams, Ringo Starr, Meryl Streep, Kathy Bates are all Cancers. And just think of their cardinal energy. I'll explain that in a minute. Anyway, Pisces are Drew Barrymore, George Harrison, as you see here, and they have that kind of a mutable look, like dreamy, shifting energy. Others, well, obvious in this realm of dreams is Einstein, Liza Minnelli, Steve Irwin, the crocodile guy, and Jennifer Love Hewitt. So these are the water signs. Okay, let's take a look at the samples of the fire signs now. Aries on the left, intense, sharp, angular actions, forceful voices, generators of heat is Leo. The multi-directional spread of fire, the mutability of fire going all directions is Sagittarius. Leo is fixed. Aries is charging head first. The Aries you see here are Mary Lou Henner, Alex Baldwin. Others I can think of that are quite forceful and headstrong are William Shatner, Eddie Murphy, Reba McEntire, Jessica Parker, or Sarah Jessica Parker. Think of that forceful head-first energy of those Aries. The Leos you see here are Kathy Gifford, Mick Jagger. I wrote Mick. I meant Mick. Okay. Anyway, such show people, so fixed fire. you'll see it. Others, Jackie Onassis Kennedy, Haley Berry, Antonia Bandera, Michael Richards, or see him strut into the room on fire, holding a self-energy, fixed fire. You'll see that in Leos. Sagittarius, there you see on the right, is John Stewart and Tyra Banks. Bette Midler, Ben Stiller, Dick Van Dyke are all centaurs. So you'll see that fiery mixed energy in people like that. Okay, we're going to go to the air signs. I hope you're following this all right. Think of these energies when you watch someone's and see how they move with the forces, the force of expression, the rhythm, the vibration. And the air signs, of course, are mercuric, mental energy, animated, flighty, vacuous occupiers of large space, and they have breathy and high-pitched voices. Take, for instance, let's look at the Geminis on the left. Marilyn Monroe and Dana Carvey. Marilyn Monroe, hi, hi. And just visualize her breathy voice. Dana Carvey, the church lady, very high-pitched voice. He went right into that. He has Virgo rising to add to his Gemini. Other Geminis include Bobby Dylan, Joan Rivers, Annette Bening, and Anderson Cooper. So you could imagine the breathy, airy presence of these air signs. The Libras are a lot calmer than the other two because this is cardinal energy going sideways. Aries was right at you. Libra is sideways, the opposite sign in the zodiac to Aries. Barbara Walters, Jimmy Carter are good examples of Libra, as you can see here. Others include Will Smith, Matt Damon, Kelly Ripa, Gwyneth Paltrow. So you're going to see this energy in Libra. It's very balanced, but it's strong horizontal direction of energy. Now the Aquariuses are the fixed signs, fixed air. Ellen DeGeneres, Justin Timberlake, he has that high-pitched voice. In his music, he's very good at hitting those high notes. Ellen's kind of there too. Other Aquariuses include Alan Alda, John Travolta, Carol Channing, Jennifer Anderson, and of course my favorite. Now think of the movie, Spielberg's movie, Abe Lincoln. Now we saw all the trailers and everything, and here was Daniel Day-Lewis playing Abe Lincoln. And here he was talking about in this voice. He had that high-pitched Aries air voice. And they said that is the way he sounded. And of course his voice was able to carry over in the crowds better than Douglas, who had a baritone voice. I don't know his sun sign, but he was able to carry out, and his words got heard. And everybody said Lincoln had a high voice like that, and they, true to history, they integrated into the film. So I found that a fascinating bit of history. All right, here we go. Let's go around to the modes once again and take a look at the modes here. These patterning actions affect the rhythmic frequencies of the elements. I kind of hinted at it in some of my descriptions of the elements. And first of all, we will go to the cardinal cross here. The next one here is the cardinal cross. Everything has to start to go somewhere. And as you look at this is kind of how the seasons are, and this is kind of how the charts are, other than the rising sign is on the left side because of the rotation of the Earth. That deals with something beyond this workshop, but the solstice and the equinox, this is what the astrologers saw in the sky, and in back of them at the morning sunrise were these four constellations. Of course, they were the seasonal starting points. The sun was in Aries for summer. Cancer was the peak, or Aries was spring. Cancer was the peak for summer. Libra was fall, and Capricorn was the winter solstice. Each of these cardinal points appear to change. At these points, the sun appears to move in a direction. It's at its easternmost point with the spring. At summer, it's at the northernmost, and it turns the direction heading back south. In the fall, it's heading to the west. In the winter, it's heading back up to the east. Anyway, you see the directional change at these cardinal points in the sky. Let's take a look at the cardinal signs of some of the caricatures and what they look like when the sun transits one of these cardinal points. You'd expect some kind of movement, or noticeable redirection of creative energies. These are the caricatures I have of Aries, Libra, Cancer, and Capricorn, and they're all labeled so you know which one's which. And these synthesize the physical traits that you can imagine that comes from these energies. As I mentioned, Aries is head first. They're straightforward. Their faces tend to be very long and vertically stretched. The quality of the color of these cardinal forces are also determined by the nature of each season. The fiery red light of Aries moves us into spring. Libra's night lights move us into the pastel orange of fall. Summer takes us into the cooling blue shade of Cancer. We want to go into the water to get into the shade, to get out of the hot summer sun. And the gray of Capricorn's winter drives us to our New Year's resolutions to push ahead into the future. And you will recognize these cardinal energies in people's expressions and mannerisms. And the directions are all different with each sign. Okay, now here we go with, let's take a look at some celebrities with the cardinal celebs. All right, if you notice an expressive outward push running in a vertical or horizontal direction, vertical or horizontal, pushing, then you're observing one of the masculine cardinal signs. This is outward, by the way, expansive. They're the masculine signs, positive energy. If the person is constantly in your face, it's likely you encouraged or encountered an Aries, and probably encouraged one too. Anyway, Hugh Hefner, Mary Lou Henner, and Eddie Murphy are all demonstrate how the Aries ram charges headfirst from front to back, clearing everything from the path of movement as they charge headfirst into everything. This gives Aries that high arched eyebrows and the long vertically stretched faces I mentioned earlier. Now Libras, the bottom ones in this illustration, are the opposite side of Aries. So instead of vertical movement, we disarm the forward drive by sweeping energy off to the sides, balancing in a horizontal direction. Air is dissipating the energy into a larger arena as it shifts the energy back and forth from one side to the other. So if you see this back and forth energy as they express their sun signs in full expression, then you will know that it's good chance you're looking at a Libra. The horizontal spread of energy spreads the features of Libra to the sides. The eyebrows are very liberal. You have the widespread eyes, and that shift from side to side usually. They don't go up and down too much. They tend to shift, to dart from one side to the other. The most noticeable trait is the V-shaped smile. That cherubic smile that stretches the cheeks wide to the sides. These are observed in the mannerisms of these photos here. You see of Jimmy Carter, Christopher Reeve, and Gwyneth Paltrow. All right, we're going to go on now to the feminine signs cardinal. In the feminine signs of Cancer and Capricorn, the watery, earthy forces are directed from within. This is an internalized energy. It's pulling things inward, downward, and upward, pushing it upward from within. If you notice a pulling force drawing your attention, you could likely be sucked into the energy field of one of these feminine cardinal signs, Cancer or Capricorn. If you see the depth of the ocean in their eyes and the beaming lunar face, and they offer you a bowl of yummy soup, you're being mothered by a Cancer crab. Meryl Streep, Ross Perot, Keith Marin display the surging tides of Cancer. Now, a lot of people, I had trouble with identifying cancers. This is a hard thing to realize. There is movement here, but they're always stuck at home. They don't move from their base. They are pulling stuff into their base. That is the movement that cancers create. And so they pull this stuff inward into the base. And that is the energy. The movement is pulling stuff down into their base. Now, Cancer or Capricorn is the opposite. They're pushing up from the base and creating a mountain of physical material to support and make a better world. Now, with the Cancers, there's a lot of emotions to this. If it's void of emotion and they're very, very persistent, you're likely being accosted by a goat. Tenaciously, these creatures will continue to pull your strings, if you know what I mean, that upward push. You can see it in the faces here of Betty White, Denzel Washington, and David Bowie. With every new month, there's a shift in mode and polarity, as we mentioned. As we said, each new sign, because of this polarity shift, counters the actions of the previous sign. So this creates a process, because everything that is countered by the next sign. Thusly, the middle month of every season, Cardinal's momentum is countered by a need to stop the movement and put everything on hold in a fixed mode. It's time to make something of worth. And this is what we do with the fixed signs. Okay, take a look at these illustrations of the 4 fixed signs. Caught in the middle, that's where they are. It's the middle month of the season. And the energies are fixed around the common center to define the encircled space and worth of what is contained in this circle. This definition of center is the manifesting force of being that forms all creation. Perhaps the Higgs boson God particle is a fixed energy. It makes something appear out of nothing, makes matter out of nothing. It's really an interesting thought. We won't go any further than that. Interesting, this containment creates square and cubical physical features. And if you look at these caricatures here, Taurus, very square features. Leo, proud fixed cubical energy. Scorpio's a little more rounded because we have the rounded flesh of water. Aquarius is light, vacuous energy, but very cubic foreheads and jaws. With the feminine sides of Taurus and Scorpio, it's easy to see the fixity because it's held internally, and they really hold their space. But with the masculine signs, Leo and Aquarius, the expansive forces are reaching out to connect with external connections and external realities. They are reaching out to connect instead of in like the feminine signs. Most of America's earlier news teams were made up of fixed sign people. We like our anchors to be emotionally unflappable. And these are the ones that we see in our fixed photo collection here. Now, let's take a look at the feminine fixed signs of Taurus and Scorpio. These are the anchors, emotionally unflappable. It's amazing how many news anchors are fixed signs. If they appear stubborn and resistant to movement, then you're grazing with a contented cow or bull. The bovine eyes are a giveaway. Brian Williams, Mike Wallace, and Edward R. Murrow are legendary heavyweight anchors. Now, if you feel the presence of submerged emotions. Sorry about this here. We're trying to put a little script up here. My thing fell down. There we go. Sorry. Anyway, you're drawn in the secret world of a Scorpio. Walter Cronkite, Dan Rather, Jane Pauley, all Scorpios. Incredible emotional control. And think about them in the most trying of events, the assassinations and etc. that went on through the years. Let's take a look at some fixed celebrities. With the fixed masculine signs Leo and Aquarius, the expansive energies are attached to external conditions in reality, as we said, versus internal. The fixed fire of Leo radiates in a large sense of self. The sun is here, in the chest, in the heart, as the lion attempts to attract the attention of others. And you'll see that energy of fixing and reaching out to get attention. Then you've got a clue that you're probably watching a Leo. In Aquarius, there's a fixing on thoughts, the collective thoughts of others. Intuitive insights is what they want to pick up on and to enlarge their own mental perceptions. If someone gives you a compliment and they take on a fixed radiant glow, then you're likely in the presence of a Leo. Now, this aura of confidence was noticeable in the presentations of Peter Jennings, Linda Ellerby, Connie Chung, Leos, all. But if you give an Aquarius a compliment, it likely went unnoticed. Give them an idea, their eyes will light up and sparkle with electricity, and they'll make surprising connections to your original thought. So that's Aquarius fixing onto ideas. Tom Brokaw, Ted Koppel, and Jessica Savage show us this gift. Okay, we go back and let's take a look at I think I'm going to have to hold this here. Let's take a look at this, my little clip here, Brooke. The last month in each season is a time of internal and external adjustments to prepare us for the movement into a new season. Once again, there's a new mode of operation. This is the third illustration here in this counterclockwise movement of those white circles. And once again, it's time to change polarity and unfix those firmly held divisions. We need to do the opposite of what we were doing. We were holding. We need to unfix, stir up the thing, loosen it up. This is what happens when we have mutable energies come into the equation. Caught between the stop and the go, we have the fixed in the cardinal, the stop and the go. The energies run back and forth in a Mobius pattern. You will see this energy in the hand movements, in the eyes and head tilt of the mutable signs. Let's take a look at some of the caricatures of our mutable signs. These fixing forces can be seen in the twisted and skewed features of Gemini, Air, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces. You feel the elemental energy, but you feel the mutability at the same time. Mutable energy examines all the angles from all sides. It sorts and arranges things to create things, ideas, desires, and emotions. So these mutable signs have to pull it all together so that we can decide what to do when the next step, when the new season begins. They tell us which way to go. So that's what we learned from the mutable energies. So far, we detected the strong cardinal force and the fixed expressions. If neither of these exist, you don't sense. Cardinality is pretty easy. You sense movement. Fixed is the easiest. But if you don't sense any of these, and it's very undescribable energy, it keeps changing, then you've got a clue that you're probably in the presence of a mutable sign. If you see scattered electrical sparks and you're hearing a didactic flow of chatter and hands flying all over the place, well, then you're likely in the presence having a lively conversation with a Gemini. Nicole Kidman Clint Eastwood and Angelina Jolie are all masters of such verbal spin. If you're interrupted in the middle of every sentence and the subject matter constantly takes quantum leaps in every direction, then you've caught the momentary attention of a galloping centaur. Their centaurs are Christina Aguilera, Sammy Davis Jr., and Dick Van Dyke. You will notice the mutable, distorted energies or facial structures. One side skews off some distance from the other. And this happens in the mutable signs. It makes them easier to detect. We all have a slight disparity between the left side of our face and the right side, but with mutable signs, it's pretty obvious. It's extensively obvious compared to, let's say, the fixed signs tend to make them more cubical and square. So anyway, that's the masculine mutable signs, and our last and not least is the feminine mutable energies. Unlike the expansive whirl of fire in air, the mutable forces of the feminine signs, Virgo and Pisces, seem to spin us inward. They pull us into the vortex of Alice's rabbit hole, going inward. Here the changes are rearranged internally to alter the nature of the whole. That's WHOLE. If a person is noticeably critical of their imperfect surroundings, and they steadily offer their services to make it better, then you're likely in the presence of a Virgo. A Virgo, Cameron Diaz, Richard Gere, Lily Tomlin is a perfect Virgo, just slightly too critical. But watch her fingers move about and point and count like all Virgos do. We will, in a future workshop, we got a couple planned here. We will do one on body language and the rulership and how you can tell by the way people walk and their body language. It's on my website, Astrovisions, with a dash in the middle.com. And for the Pisces here, if your reaction isn't this earthy Virgo Mercuric energy, but it's dreamy stare and a feeling of nebulous bewilderment, then you're likely caught in the web of a Pisces fish. The fish is caught in the trappings of the universe. And like Bon Jovi, Joanne Woodward, Albert Einstein is a perfect example. Like all fishes, they could help us escape from life's trappings and help us ride the greater currents of creation as we move out to find a course of new direction. And of course, this course of new direction takes us back to the cardinal signs. And we are with the cardinal signs. We are starting a new season. We are starting another direction of creation. And we go through another 3-step process of cardinal, fixed, and mutable. Whatever element we're at, fire, earth, air, water, these patterns keep happening. And I'm hoping that this webinar is satisfactory for you and you do understand this. So we're going to kick on the chat line, and we want you to give us some questions. You can. My moderator, Dan Emmerich, is here, and he's going to pass me some questions, and I'll see if I can answer them. This may slow us down a little bit. Anyway, while he's waiting for that, future webinars, as I mentioned, I'm going to do one on body language. I hope to do one every month or so. I want to do one on sun, moon, and rising signs, how you distinguish the energy of the sun, the moon, and the rising sign, and so you can guess how like a person reacts is their moon, and if it's mutable earth, then you know it's a Virgo moon, and so forth. We have some questions coming in.
Could you cover significance of sun, moon, and rising?
Oh, would you like me to do that? Okay, I'll do it briefly. We did, because we had the video problems, we're probably a little shorter than we planned here. So, yes, okay. Uh, think of, this is all on my website, astro-visions.com. We got a guide to all this. And very simple. What is the sun? The sun is the projecting light that makes our earth light up. It is our light source. And your sun sign is your personal light source. So if you have a sun in Libra, you would project those cardinal air energies as you express yourself. You project your true stuff. And like I said with that quote in the opening of the vintage wine, you are that moment of the season. You will project that energy. That's very obvious. It's more obvious as you get older. You don't project too much self-identity as a young child. Children tend to react. So children project their moon signs, which brings me to the moon sign. What is the moon sign? The moon sign is a reaction. So I throw something at you, you react and throw something back. You react, reflect, respond. When you do that, the energy changes, and then you are showing your reaction or your moon sign. Like for me, I know it's hard to realize, but I have a Leo moon. And if I want to react to you, I will. And that definitely helps my Capricorn. You probably saw a lot of Capricorn sun here tonight, but I got a Leo moon. I get a little drama here and there. And anyway, and the rising sign is kind of in the middle. It's the time of day. It's the mass that you have. It shapes your body. It shapes your bone structure. It is the appearance that everybody sees. It's the window. You stepped out on the front porch, not projecting yourself, not reacting, not doing anything. You just are. So that's your rising sign. Okay, another question?
Well, she says, what is Pisces sun sign? But you might explain.
Well, a Pisces sun sign is mutable water, as we mentioned. So when you express yourself, you're going to be very liquid expressions, very soft. I consider it the softest sun sign. And that's not negative. That's empathetic of others, compassionate, feeling, but it's not fixed and it's not directed. It's mutable. It's Mobius energy. So you have a gift for weaving in between this this energies of other and bringing people together. So when you do that and express your sun sign, that's what the gift you have to offer. Another question.
How do zodiac signs translate in the astral level?
How do zodiac signs translate in the astral level? Well, this is the general direction my work is taking. Um, if you look at the history of all of this and the stuff that Santos talks about so beautifully, the zodiac is a definition of the magic of life itself. The dance of the seasonal lights is what I call it. And that will be some of my later workshops and these 12 steps of creation to be whole and part of the universal energy that comes all together to create this is the dance of the seasons or the 12 zodiac signs. So each sign represents an important angle. The movie Dark Crystal, the crystal got broken up into pieces. They were missing parts. It never came together until they got all the parts together. Beautiful film. And when they put all the parts together, the light radiated. It worked beautifully. They were able to be pure and whole again. And to me, each of the signs represent one of these pieces. Now, in your personal chart, you may not have any earth signs, or you have no Taurus. So, but you have other gifts. But you need to appreciate Taurus. And when, let's say you're a Gemini and your brain's rattling 90 miles an hour, it's about time to go out and smell the roses in the backyard and slow down and ground down. And that will help. So that is the spiritual essence of the zodiac. Did I answer that right? You have another one, Dan? 4. Oh, right. People love this.
Could you
Great.
cover tropical versus sidereal? What should we use for birth chart?
Oh, sidereal versus tropical. Well, being I'm a dance of the seasonal lights guy, I guess I got to say tropical. Sidereal, actually, I went to a conference many years ago in Vancouver, BC, and this yoga master was there, some prince of something or other, and he was talking to me about that. And he had a class, and he was one sign off, and I was just learning to study the signs. But it's the same idea. It's a rhythm of this wave that Santos talks about that goes through all time, and there's the wave of the sun cycle, and there's the wave of the earth daily cycles. It just learn to understand the waves and learn to where all the pieces fit together. And I think maybe it doesn't matter whether it's sidereal or tropical. It's the same idea. Is that okay?
If someone has much more of one element in their chart, would this be likely to create difficulties within the personality?
More than one element. Oh, Lord, you want all 4 of them. That gives you more opportunity to have these 4 elements within yourself to balance the elemental energies so that you can do physical things and mental things and spiritual things and emotional things. If you've got a whole bunch of 2 of them and you have no earth, I see this in a lot of charts in my work with Dell Horoscope. A lot of people, if they're missing an element, they tend to, for some reason, compensate. Like a lot of them don't have earth. They are so earthy. When I watch them, I have a no, no, no. They can't. They've got to be an earth sign. You know, their whole energy is earth. Something makes that happen, and I don't know why. It's a life loves to balance its energy out. If you have too much of this, then it wants some of the opposite or the earth energy to balance the fire. And it wants the mutable energy to tear up too much fixed. It wants the cardinal to push it in a direction. So just work with all the energies. And I think whatever you have is what you were given. And once you learn to work with all of them, I think it's a little easier to get by. Okay, we got another one. I hope that answered for you.
What's the most important clue to recognizing a person's sun sign?
Most important clue. Physically, we talked about the physical points. You saw the caricatures. Go to my website, astro-visions.com. You can see all the drawings, pictures, Dance of the Seasonal Lights section in there. It talks about the cycles of the seasons. And the sun sign is the light of your being. It is the seasonal force that was there when you were born. It is your purpose. It is your part of you that you must express to others and give to others to help them find that little missing part of the crystal. If you're in Aries, then you need to help people find their self-identity and sense of self-worth. Self-esteem would a little more of that would take us into Leo. So you can see where each one of these signs, sun sign, and a lot of people tell me, I don't know if anyone's going to ask this question, oh, but I'm a 29 and a half and I don't want to be a Scorpio, I want to be a happy Sag. And I said, no, you're a 29.5-degree Scorpio, you're a Scorpio sun. And it's amazing how that little fraction of time, we get a little shifts because these waves of creation are running constantly. But your sun sign is what your purpose is. And as you get older and more wiser with time. Capricorn would say that, wiser with time. Uh, you will want to be your sun sign. You'll want to express that to others. And it's amazing when you watch people really express their true desires, then you're going to watch them take on all these energies of the elements, the frequency level, the rhythms, and the patterns of the mode. Just watch rhythms and patterns, and you're going to see that energy come out as they express their sun sign. And it's the strongest manifestation. One more? Oh, we got more. Oh, lots more.
How do you see if the sun sign and the ascendant are the same?
The sun sign and the ascendant are the same. They are not the same. Oh, I guess I guess we'll go into that. I've got some pictures. We could look at this. The ascendant. Okay, the ascendant is the time of day. It changes sun sign or rising signs every 2 hours. 12 signs, 24 hours in a day. So every 2 hours, unless you're way up north or down south, um, uh, you could in Alaska they got people have 2/3 of the day is dark, so they get all their planets crunched into a few houses. They're interesting people from Alaska, and I'm quite sure down in Australia way we have some of the same stuff. But um, the ascendant is your window to the world. It's the ever-present moment. You're not projecting your sun. You're not reacting with your moon. You're just being. And when you're in that state of being, looking out your front window of your ascendant, seeing the world, what you see every day of your life and every moment is that sign that is there. I have Sag rising. I see a wide scope of the universe. A really strange thing. And of course, everybody looks at me and first impression, they see this clowny Sagittarius. And it's a little difficult for us serious Capricorns, you know that. But anyway, so does that explain it? It is your window to the world, and it is when you are not using your luminaries and projecting your luminary light, you're just being, and it changes the physical structure, the bone structure. It changes that mask that we see that protects you from the world and world energies. It's your protective mask. I guess you could say that. I hope that answered that question.
You talked about rising signs influencing personalities. Have you ever heard of the sounds of your name influencing your personality?
Sounds of your names. The question was, you've heard of rising signs affecting your personality, and have you ever heard that names affect your personality? Well, names are vibrational too. You ever watch Sato's video on words? He takes all these words from thousands of years and how each word has a different vibration. Well, you have whatever you were named is a different vibration. That vibration has its effect on others. And so it does have a minor effect. If, if, uh, if your parents called you Tweedledee, you probably want to change your name. Hi, Tweedledee. What? Think about it. Poor Tweedledee. So, parents have their imagination. We had some really wonderful names come up in the 60s. We had some pretty strange ones. But it does affect your change. And back to when I started Dell Horoscope magazine, somebody told me numerology, that's another level of this, was to use the name Bill Schreib, B-I-L, Bill. And my friends started calling me Bill. And actually, every proof corrector it went through, it added another L, and so finally I made it William Schreib, my original birth name, actually. So much for numerology and names is if you wish to change the energy, I'd say you can do it in your own head and your own actions and change your own vibes just with your mind, your spirit, your emotions, your heart, and therefore change your physical being. Okay, next question.
For example, the O sound in Sophia is supposed to give Jupiter energy to the person. She read this in Childlight, Parenting for the New Age by Polarity.
Okay, the name Sophia, the O sound is supposed to give Jupiterian energy. My new niece-in-law is named Sophia. Is that from Loretta? Is that from a Loretta? Oh, okay. Well, tell you the truth, you're going to have to ask Santos that one. I have difficulty translating sounds. One thing I never was quite good at was hearing the right sounds, music, and that sort of stuff. I think I work well with the words and stuff and the ideas and the visualization of it, but sounds I'm not very good. I don't think I can answer that. But nice question, though, and I really like the question. And I kind of agree with you. There is that sort of effect. But I don't know if Jupiter is really the O, like Joel. Yeah, I suppose it is Jupiter. Yeah. Okay. Jupiter. Next question. Oh, this is fun. Anyway.
Joseph, to calculate, you must have the exact time of birth to determine both sun and ascendant, especially ascendant, since it changes every 2 hours.
Oh, you have to have the exact minute, like I said. The ascendant. The question was, what do you do to get your ascendant? It's every minute changes, actually almost a minute, and every 30 minutes changes a degree, and actually it's faster than that. So particularly on the ascendant, because that's a quick 24-hour cycle. You got a whole month, and it is one 30, 1/12 of the 360 days, 30 days. So you got a lot of time to go 1 degree in that. So, but the ascendant, yeah, it's the hardest thing. I have a lot of my astrologer friends in Spokane and Seattle have called me and said, "Hey, I got this picture. We don't know her rising sign. Nobody knows my birth time." And so we take a stab at the physical structure of their body. Don't get them reacting. Don't get them doing their luminary stuff, putting on a smile or energizing themselves with the light within or reactive light. Just being. So I'm being here, and I get kind of Sagittarius when I'm sitting here. My hands can't sit still. So that's my rising energy, and it changes with every minute. Like I said, you could be 29.5 degrees Scorpio. You may want to be a Sag, but pretty well, it's amazing that it's that tight of a figure that you could actually narrow it down to within minutes.
Did you learn all this by observation? Have sun signs changed over the years?
The question, if you didn't hear it, is did I learn this by observation and have sun signs changed over the years? Uh, it's all observation. This project, as I mentioned, started in the 70s. I took some pictures of, I was going to prove astrology didn't work to a friend of mine in Spokane, Washington. And I went out and I took some pictures. I used to do photography in college. My dad was a Taurus. My friend was a Taurus. That was the first sign to catch because it was the easiest to draw because it was fixed Earth and very physically observable, as I came to discover. And so it was all observation. And I drew that Taurus caricature I showed you in the opening of this and how I learned to enhance it by getting into the space and acting it. So it is mostly my own observations. There was a few books that have done wonderful caricatures. A guy named King in the after the Depression came out pre-war with a wonderful book of caricatures, and I just tried to enhance the figures by becoming the energy of the sign. So I observe the signs, I observe the body language. Yes, it is observations, and no, sun signs haven't changed. I think what you're talking about is the you look up in the sky. This really the sun is not in Leo; it's back one sign in the sign. Well, we're in the age of Aquarius now, or are we Pisces? We don't know. That's the progression of the solar system is kicking this stuff backwards. Every 2,000 years it changes the sign. So that doesn't matter because the first day of spring on our earth energy, as we said, the fine wine, the vintage wine on this earth that we are, is that spot and that place on earth where we were born. And we can take it back to conception. There is some talk on that. But it is that spot, that energy is part of us. And the first day of spring is still the first day of spring. I don't care where the stars were the clock 5,000 years ago. They were very brilliant, and they saw this 26,000 year cycle. That's the Mayan calendar that everybody talked about. And I don't know how they figured it out. They didn't have telescopes. They just watched things. I guess they didn't drive around in their new cars. They just watched things. So anyway, okay, I hope that answers that question. How are we doing here? More?
Two.
Two more.
What is the effect or possible difficulties of having your sun sign square to your moon?
Ah, sun sign square to moon. Okay, this is another segment we could also throw. We're talking about aspects. We could also talk about Saturn on your sun and square your moon and your moon square sun. I just finished a celebrity snapshot for Dale Horoscope on Steve Buscemi, the guy in Fargo. He's a Sag. Uh, he has Saturn on his sun. Now think of his career. He's not that light, silly, jovial centaur humor character. He's a rather dark humor character. And so he has, that's the Saturn. That's sitting on his sun. And his sun was, if I remember right, square his moon. Well, I don't see squares as bad. It's all the same cycle. It's just when it's square, I find it as an opportunity because it's a point to, something is further away, shall we say. Your emotions are as far away at a square, other than an opposition, from that point of cardinal, let's say Capricorn, Cancer line that you would with a Capricorn moon, and your moon is in Libra square. Well, it's as far away emotionally from your sun as it will be in that cycle, in that waveform. So a square makes things distance. It also opens a door, as far as I'm concerned. It brings new direction and new opportunity. So I never saw squares as bad. I mean, we do have things go wrong with squares and conjunctions. And this is getting real complicated for a modes and element thing, but I hope that answered that.
What about twins born 4 minutes apart?
Ah, twins 4 minutes apart. Well, they're going to likely be the same sign, unless they're right on the point of changing the day that a minute that the sun goes from one sign to another. They certainly can be different. 1, well, 10, I really don't know how to answer that. That's a good question. I'll have to think about that one.
Okay, one more question then. Why is my name on your video screen?
Because you are the head moderator, and it probably went on in the same. Dan's name is on the bottom of. Actually, that's Dan there. Bill is sitting in the background pushing buttons. Oh, gee. Okay, I guess, oh, we got another question. Thanks for sticking with us, people.
Planets will tend to be near the cusps, so as one falls in one house and the other in the next house.
Oh, yeah. Okay, the question is something about planets being in one house and another planet could be in the other house. What was the rest of the question? Houses. Okay, you saw the houses in my little breakup of the circle wave and the up and down wave that runs in the circle of the chart where we saw those two triangles of the positive signs and the negative signs. Those are different houses.
Yes, Bliss says the answer to twins born 4 minutes apart. Planets will tend to be near the cusp, so as one falls in one house and the other in the next house.
It was a thank you, Bliss. She says, or he says that the planets could actually shift house, which in this wave, if you could, okay, imagine this wave that creates light, creates form. Out of all of this stuff around us is light form. And we are light form, we're conscious light form, we're conscious of the light around us at the minute we're born. So the twin is here, and 4 minutes later, the next twin is here. The angle, that 4 minutes is still different. And Bliss's comment was they could probably likely arrange a shift of some planet from one house to another. So that creates a little bit of creative potential that's different than the twin. Thank you, Bliss. I think that's a beautiful statement. Did I get that correct? Thanks, Dan.
Bliss also says, I'm a Libra sun, Pisces moon, Aquarius rising. I find I have to be careful with empathy, so sensitive. Does this make sense?
A Libra sun, Pisces rising, and Aquarius moon. Is that what that was, Dan?
I'm sorry. Aquarius rising, Pisces moon.
Pisces moon, Aquarius rising, Libra sun. Well, first of all, Libra, you want balance and beauty in the world, harmony. You want the energies to be in balance. You don't like the force pushing, but that's part of the process. Your job is to keep it in balance. That's your key contribution. Aquarius and Pisces, yes, Aquarius wants you to be a little more radical. You're not afraid to stir the pot up and present new revolutionary ideas. And the Pisces means you want to do it, whether it's your emotions or your window. That we'll have to do this in another session because this is getting complicated. Okay.
Give your web page where they can buy the book.
All right. Anyway, thank you, Ruth, for making this possible with the School of the Holy Science. And remember, if you guys buy a book in 2 weeks, if you would like one, or you look at the pages on it on my website, Astro-Visions, put the dash in it, or you'll get some NASA site with pictures of the stars. And you buy the book there, half of the profits will go to the school. Better yet, send them a few bucks. Get on their website and give them a few bucks, because if you want these webinars to continue, you need to help. You need to contribute to the school. And we're doing a lot of work here. We're going to work on some videos. I've got a couple of them up on the YouTube Astro-Visions channel. Check that out. And you can watch that film that we messed up trying to get going here. And anyway, that's about it. And golly, thanks for coming, and we appreciate you being here. Oh, it's a wonderful turnout from all around the world. Take care.